Welcome back to Feed the Beast Stoneblock 4. I'm Bumpstar. Last episode we got our particle accelerator set up and started producing neutrons, which means we're getting really close to antimatter. But we're not quite there yet. Today's goal is all about nuclear waste. To get that, we need to build a fission reactor, set up the fuel for it, and make sure it actually runs without blowing everything up, which is something I haven't done in quite a while. We're not making antimatter yet, but this is a huge required step towards it. So today it's all about getting nuclear processing online. Let's jump in and see if I still remember how to do this. So I'm going to set this up in our compact machine that we have the particle accelerator in, because since it has been a while, I want to make sure that we're safe from nuclear waste. And, making sure that we don't have our nuclear reactor exploding on us. So in order to do all this, we're going to set up a quantum ring in here and link that to our system, so that way we have access to our whole ME system in here to import and export items. So in order to make nuclear waste, we need a fission reactor. And with a fission reactor, we need a fissile fuel. So the first step that we're going to do is to make fissile fuel. And if you haven't made this before, the best way to figure this out is either A, look at some type of guide online, or watch this video as we figure it out together, or use the JEI here, which is just enough items, which is this and all of this broken down, and to kind of reverse engineer it. So for example, for fissile fuel, we need uranium hexafluoride in a isotropic centrifuge, and to make uranium hexafluoride, we need uranium oxide and hydrofluoric acid in a chemical oxidizer. But then uranium oxide is going to be a chemical oxidizer with yellow cake uranium to make that uranium oxide. And then the hydrofluoric acid is going to be a chemical dissolution chamber with sulfuric acid and fluorite gems. And sulfuric acid is going to be a chemical infuser with sulfur trioxide and water vapor. Sulfur trioxide is a chemical infuser with oxygen and sulfur dioxide. And sulfur dioxide is a chemical oxidizer with sulfur dust, with water vapor being a rotary condensator set to deconcentrating to make water vapor from water, which seems like a lot. And I mean, it is, but really, as long as you make the basic machines and just follow what to put in, you can make this. So let's start doing that. So the first thing that we're going to want to think about making is some chickens. Before we start any of this, we want to make sure we have enough items to make this without running out. Because right now we're getting fluorite from our unearther, which, I mean, it works, but it's still kind of slow. And same thing with our sulfur. We're getting sulfur from our unearther, and it's kind of slow. I mean, we have 16k sulfur right now and 15k fluorite, but we're going to burn through that pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and make these two chickens to make sure that we aren't running out of our resources. So take a look at the recipe, and we need a blue chicken with a nether quartz chicken to make fluorite, and we need a coal chicken with a yellow chicken to make sulfur. So let's go ahead and put them in the breeder. Grab some seeds. And I think we can just get away with using some tier 7s. And there we go. We have a sulfur chicken. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and make 3 of these each, just to make sure we have more than enough. And then we're going to go ahead and buff all of these up to make sure that they are max level. I got the chicken set up and I have 3 running at max level, and I just put this in, and I mean, you can see how quickly that's filling up. So we're going to have plenty of fluorite and sulfur to do what we need to do. So we're going to go ahead and work backwards for fissile fuel. So the last step is going to be turning it into fissile fuel from uranium hexafluoride in a isotropic centrifuge. So let's go ahead and make one of these. And let's actually make 3 of them, and we'll end this right here. So we're going to go ahead and put this here, here, here. And now to make uranium hexafluoride, that is going to be in a chemical infuser with hydrofluoric acid and uranium oxide. So let's make some chemical infusers. And now let's set this up so it will clear it out. And it's going to input from the left. And actually, we're going to move these over one space. So let's clear that out. Input from the left. And let's clear this out and output to the right. And we're going to make sure we have our configuration card out as well so we can set this all up. And then we'll take energy from the front and energy from the front. And let's go ahead and send that over to all of these. And same thing with this one. So that way they all have the same settings. And we'll do that with every machine as we put it down. So now with the chemical infuser, we need hydrofluoric acid and uranium oxide. So hydrofluoric acid is going to be a chemical dissolution chamber with fluorite and sulfuric acid. Now we need to make some chemical dissolution chambers. And we'll set that up for chemicals, clear it all, and we will output to the right and take power from the front. And now in these chemical dissolution chambers, it is going to need an item piped in with sulfuric acid. So we will set it up so the item is pulled from the top, and then we will get some export buses and put those all on top and run our cable to that. And then we'll tell that to send fluorite gems. So if we look inside, it should start filling with fluorites, and we'll go ahead and make acceleration cards for each one of these to make sure to speed that process up so they get filled up as quickly as possible. So within that chemical dissolution chamber, we also need sulfuric acid. So sulfuric acid is going to be a chemical infuser with sulfur trioxide and a water vapor. So let's go ahead and make 3 more chemical infusers. And we'll place those down right here. And then we want to configure these as well. And to make sulfuric acid then, the sulfur trioxide is oxygen with sulfur dioxide. So now we need to make oxygen, and to make oxygen, that is going to be a electrolytic separator. Makes hydrogen and oxygen. But we're also going to want deuterium. So I think we're going to do this with some heavy water so we can just get both of these. So it looks like we already have some electrolytic separators set up. So let's go ahead and set this down, make sure these are empty. Okay. And then we just want heavy water. Heavy water is going to be from the electric pump with a filter upgrade on top of water. So let's make those. And we're going to make 20 of these for now, 20 filter upgrades. And then let's grab a tank of water and a couple blocks. So we're going to set up white concrete all right here to just fill this up so we can put all of the electric pumps on top. All right, so we have those. Get our filter upgrades out. And let's go ahead and set these up. We have to figure out which way we need these to face. I think what we're going to need to do is go this way. And we're actually going to need to make this bigger than I thought. All right, here we go. Use some energy cables here. And plug those all in. And let's go ahead and put filter upgrades in here. You have to right click on all of them. Now let's clean this up a little bit so it looks at least semi-decent. Now we need to clear out all the blocks underneath them so we can fill it up with water. All right, and now they're collecting heavy water. And let's go ahead and make some speed and energy upgrades for them. So now I have these all upgraded with speed and energy upgrades. 8 of each speed and energy with the filter upgrade to just speed up this process. So now we need some cables, or I guess some pipes. And we're going to need to pipe all of this out. And we are going to pipe this into our system so we can just pull it right out to just prevent less clutter over there. And grab an interface. And we're just going to go ahead and grab a bucket of this and put it in one of our fluid drawers. think we actually have a fluid cell already in here. We do. So let's tell that we want heavy water in there. Put it in here. And we should start seeing heavy water added in. And there we go. We now have heavy water being made. Perfect. So back to what we were looking at. We put the heavy water in the electronic separator, or the electrolytic separator, and we'll get deuterium and oxygen from this. And we're going to just store the deuterium, and the oxygen's already being stored, but we're just going to create more of it. So let's go ahead and place these on top and run our cables down. Put acceleration cards in all of these and tell it to send heavy water. And then we're going to go ahead and accept fluids from the top. So since we have that, we're getting deuterium and we have oxygen being made. And let's make sure we have that set up right. So number 2 is being sent over here. So this will start sending oxygen in here as long as we have that set up correctly. So we need input from the left. And then we're also going to want to put an input from the back. So now that we have oxygen being made, we're also going to want to export the deuterium, but for now we're going to just leave it as is, and we will idle that until we have everything else set up. But now in our chemical infuser, to get the sulfur trioxide, we also need sulfur dioxide. So actually, let's start from the beginning here. So for fissile fuel, we need the uranium hexafluoride, and that's in our chemical infuser. And so we have the hydrofluoric acid coming in. We need the uranium oxide, which is going to be a chemical oxidizer with yellow cake uranium. So let's make some chemical oxidizers. So now that we have some chemical oxidizers, let's go ahead and place those behind these. Clear out the side configuration. And for chemicals, we're going to output to the front. And for items, we are going to input from the right. So then we need the yellow cake uranium, which is just an enrichment chamber with some uranium. So we'll just place these to the right since that's where we're having the input go, and configure these, clear that out. We're going to output to the left. We will input from the right and energy from the top, and make sure to turn auto eject on. And then let's get some more exports and place those on the right and put uranium ingots in here with some acceleration cards, and then just run our cables. So those will start making the uranium, but they need power, and we'll add all the power once we're able to. Actually, let's go ahead and set this up a while just to make sure we have enough room for power. And you can definitely set this up to look a lot nicer, but this gets the job done, I guess. So let's go ahead and throw a gate on here just to start getting this powered up. And we're going to go ahead and set this to dumping excess for now, because we'll absolutely need it, but this gets the job done. So now we want to set this up. We are getting an output on here, but we need to set up an input. So we're going to input from the left, and we're going to input from the back. Let's go ahead and change that real quick. There we go. So copy that, send it over. For some reason, these aren't taking anything. I'm rather confused about. Let me break this and see why. There we go. All right, let's break that one. For some reason, it just wasn't registering. Maybe I didn't have the uranium set up in there. Who knows? But now it's working. Perfect. So that should be sending yellow cake in there, sending uranium dioxide. All right, cool. So we have that set up. So now we need this to have our sulfuric acid, and the sulfuric acid is the sulfur trioxide and the water vapor. So this is where the sulfur trioxide is going to come from, but now we need the water vapor. And that's going to be a rotary condensator with water being pumped in to make water vapor. That is deconcentrating. So that is going to be switching over here to deconcentrating. And then we're going to take power from the back, it looks like. No. Take power from the top. No, we'll do back. And we'll input from the top, and we will output. Let's see, is that... Oh no, is that a water vapor, a liquid? Or no, that's a chemical, right? We will output to the front. So let's go ahead and try an exporter. We'll take our chemical and input from the back. Or is it going to be... I have an auto eject? Maybe that is a liquid. Or can it only... Ooh, can it only input and output from the side there? We might need to adjust some of this. You know what? That's what we're gonna do. Give me a second here. I'm going to just do one row for now so we can move things around as needed. Oh, that's what I was doing wrong. I was trying to put water vapor in here, and that's not where that goes. That needs to be the chemical infuser. Chemical input is to the left, and chemical output. So this needs the... This is getting oxygen from the left, so this needs the condensator. The output chemicals to the left. Okay, hold on. What's water vapor used for? That's a sulfur trioxide. And that's the oxygen. Okay, so this is the wrong chemical infuser, right? Am I missing a chemical? I am. I'm missing a chemical infuser. Okay, okay. All right, so let's see. Let's go back from basics because I'm getting this confused. So isotropic centrifuge is where we make the uranium hexafluoride. We've got the uranium oxide coming from the back from over here, right? This is making the uranium oxide. Then the hydrofluoric acid is coming from the chemical dissolution, which is sulfuric acid and fluorite. So that's this here. So we need the sulfuric acid. So for sulfuric acid, it is a chemical infuser of water vapor and sulfur trioxide. Yeah, I'm getting myself confused. Like I said, it's been a very long time since I've done this. All right, so uranium oxide plus hydrofluoric acid, and hydrofluoric acid is from this. So we need the sulfuric acid. So we need a chemical infuser here. And so for the sulfuric acid, that's going to be the water vapor plus the sulfur trioxide. So let's clear this. So from the back, it's going to be input 2, and from the left will be input 1. So now this goes back here, and that sends the water vapor out over here. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have that, now we need another chemical infuser with sulfur dioxide and oxygen. So that's this chemical infuser with its oxygen. Yeah, I just like missed it on here for some reason. So that's the sulfur dioxide, because we're going to have oxygen coming from the electrolytic separator, sending the oxygen over here. So then for the sulfur dioxide, we need a chemical oxidizer with the sulfur dust behind it. So another chemical oxidizer. So clear that. And this is going to output, no, not items, chemicals. Output to the front, and then we're going to have an item from the back with our energy on top. So that's going to be a export bus here with our sulfur dust. So I think this is everything I need. So just to run over this one more time. So we have an electronic separator here with heavy water in it because we're going to be using this deuterium anyway. And this is making deuterium and oxygen. That oxygen then is being pumped into this infuser, which will then have the sulfur being made in the chemical oxidizer to make the sulfur dioxide to be pumped into here. And that is going to make sulfur trioxide. Yes, that makes sulfur trioxide. And then that sulfur trioxide is pumped into the chemical infuser next to it to make the sulfuric acid right here. And that is having the water vapor being pushed from back here into this. And that makes sulfuric acid gets pumped into our chemical dissolution chamber, which then makes our hydrofluoric acid. That hydrofluoric acid is then pumped into our chemical infuser over here with our uranium oxide to make uranium hexafluoride, because that uranium oxide is being made here with uranium ingots, and then that's being turned into yellow cake uranium. That's being chemical oxidizer to uranium oxide, and then that'll be pushed into our isotropic centrifuge to make fissile fuel. That's a lot of stuff. So let's plug this all in with power and see if it works. So the only one that I don't know if I have the power set up is, okay, so that's on front. We can set that to top. Just double check our power on all of them to make sure they are touching some type of cable. And let's throw gate on this and see if it works. Alright, so this guy's got power. It's making the oxygen. This got power with our sulfur that's being pumped into here, and it's making our, is that making sulfur trioxide? That is then being pumped into here with our sulfur trioxide and our water vapor to make sulfuric acid. And that water vapor is being powered. The solution chamber. Let's see. Make sure our chemical configuration is good. Set that to output. That is now being pushed into here, our sulfuric acid, which is then being sent into here with uranium oxide and hydrofluoric acid to make uranium hexafluoride. Our enrichment chamber is running. Yellow cake uranium is being made into the uranium oxide, and now this is creating fissile fuel. And now we're going to put muffler upgrades in all of them. Okay, now we can hear ourselves think. So this is all running, and I don't have any upgrades in this yet, but we're going to go ahead and put upgrades into all of this to start pumping the fissile fuel out. And then we're going to use all of our stuff that we made already and set this up 2 more times to just have a ton pumped out. But before we do all of that, let's also make or do 2 import buses, because we're going to import our fissile fuel, and then we're also going to import our deuterium. So let's go ahead and chemicals are going to output 1 to the back. And then we're going to output fissile fuel to that. This should both be chemicals, right? So let's go ahead and make some chemical cells. Okay, so we're going to take our 2 chemical cells, and we're going to go ahead and set 1 up for the deuterium, and then 1 up for fissile fuel. So now they should start being sent to our system. We might need to set this up. Yeah, we're probably going to need to set this whole thing up as a claims chunk. All right, so we're getting fissile fuel. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and make all of our speed and energy upgrades for this. But the awesome thing about setting up multiples of these is that since we have the configuration card, we can just go ahead and come over here, shift right click, and then right click the machine. And it's going to take all the settings that are here and send it over to the other ones. So we don't have to worry about setting up any of these settings. We can just set the machines down, shift right click each one, and it'll tell it exactly what to do to just make our life a little easier. Most of these machines are already set up to what they need to be, but this will just make sure they're all set up so we don't run into any issues. And now we just need our import and our export buses. And we're going to want to go ahead and make sure everything has acceleration cards as well. So now we're just going to go ahead and put energy upgrades into every single machine here, as well as speed upgrades. And I've never actually gone to the full 32 of any of these, so I might need to remove some of this to keep up, because I feel like it's going to end up using a stupid amount of power. But I guess we'll find out. But if it is going to use a stupid amount of power, we can always upgrade it again, or our power again. But we're also going to be getting a ton of power once we're done doing all of this. So we'll see what we need. Looks like our centrifuge is what's struggling. I don't know if this can handle, our power is sitting steady right now, right? So I want to try splitting this off, put the gate here to run all of this, and then putting another gate just directly onto this to see if that powers it better. We might need to just individually put gates on all of these, which honestly is probably fine. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let's let all of these fill up with power and see what we're looking at, because our power is dwindling rather quickly. I feel like it's this that's going to consume a ton of it. I'm gonna take out 16 energy upgrades here. I'm just gonna take 16 energy upgrades out of all of them. Yep, so 16 energy upgrades out of all of them seems to work. All right, so we're just gonna bring everything to 16 of each just to be safe. So let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. Just remove 16 of the speeds for each. Just gonna go ahead and bring everything down to 16. Seems like it has to be a 1-to-1. Seems to be running a bit better. Probably even bring that down further, but we'll just do this for now. So let's go through and do all of this too. It is just absolutely eating up through our power. All right, here we go. We're now getting about 3 buckets a second for Fissile Fuel, and our energy is climbing back up, which is good. That means we're not going to run out of energy. Just doing the 32-32 for even the isotropic centrifuge was too much for our power, because, well, it just ends up getting a absolute ton of power. So let's see here. That's good. What is bottlenecking here? Sulfuric acid. Solution chamber. What does the... Oh, we forgot the fluoride input. Back to our power. Our power is drastically dropping now that this is all running again. So we might want to just run a single one right now. So let's go ahead and take the gate off of this whole setup. See if running 2 of these is good enough. All right, there we go. Now it's climbing back up. Everything's good. And so we'll just run 2 of these. Because, yeah, that should be solid enough. Where are we lacking? Hydrofluoric acid, hydrofluoric acid. Are we out of uranium already? Oh, that just isn't sending uranium in? What's this one? Okay, so that's sending uranium in. That's making our uranium. Look at our power. Our power is dwindling again. So we might need to just try and run one of these setups to make sure that we have enough power. Okay, we're going back up. And that's going to be it for today's episode. It took me a bit longer to set up Fissile Fuel than I wanted to, but we got it done. And we have a good amount being made. So next episode, we are going to make our fission reactor and start collecting some nuclear waste and possibly pull some power from that as well. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.